welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to another Opposition View show where we are looking ahead to our next game, which is back at Goodison against Brighton and Hove Albion. And with that in mind, a very, very warm welcome back to the show for the one and only AD Packham, co-host of the Albion Raw segment on Radio Reverb down in Brighton. Like I say, it's the second time AD's been on the show with me this season, so it's really great to have him back again. AD, how have you been since we were last speaking together?
It's been very much the same, really. It was obviously you came down to the Amex. That was just before you came down to the Amex, which obviously we won in controversial circumstances. Which, although I'm kind of, it's controversial, but it's not controversial in the fact that it was a penalty that wasn't a penalty. That was a penalty. It's just one of those things where if it's a foul, we're talking about the incident with Aaron.
It's a foul. That's not a foul, but the law says it's a foul.
Well, if it's anywhere else on the pitch, it's a foul. So if it's in the penalty box, it's a penalty.
But if there wasn't all the strictness, maybe not.
Yeah, but it's one that would very rarely get given, and like we weren't calling for it, no one else was calling for it, and it got given. So, but to the letter of the law, which is what we have to go with, but we're doing to it. It's a pain in the ass. I hate it. Like this VAR. Don't even get me started. We're going to get started on VAR, aren't we?
We are. There's a VAR segment in the show.
Good, my favourite.
You bet you get this on any of these shows that you go on these days.
You know, we've tried to cut it out of our show, but it's just becoming increasingly impossible. And every time it does get mentioned, it just turns into a tirade. I mean, obviously, we're live on the radio, so we're kind of like have Ofcom rules to follow. But you know, if we had a bleep machine, it would be it would be used.
Yeah. Well, let's try and not need the bleep machine for this show anyway. We'll do our best. As always, we start with the recent form. It's been a real mixed bag for Brighton recently. 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss in the last 3 league games, and then you also got knocked out the cup by Sheffield Wednesday. That must have disappointed you.
Yeah, I mean, we were very, very disappointed on Saturday, particularly because we put out a strong team against Wednesday. I think that we just didn't turn up. I mean, it was a game so ugly, even its mother wouldn't love it, if you know what I mean. It was a pig of a game. It was like, but credit to Wednesday, they took the chance when they had it. Adam Reach was an absolute menace all day, but you know we had but we had a strong team out there, strong enough to actually go out and actually get ourselves through to the next round. But and you know, we got to the semi-finals last year. We had a bit of a taste for it. There is a school of thought that says that the cup run hurt us last year, and that we nearly got relegated as a result of it. But I said to you, and I've said to other shows, your job as a football club is to try and be as successful as possible, and that means trying to win every competition that you're in. And you know, for any club in the Premier League, you've got to try the FA Cup and the League Cup. You know, it's a trophy at the end of the day. It doesn't matter whether it's been diminished or whatever. It's still a trophy, and that's what you're in the competition to do, and it
is more winnable than the Premier League as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, and for clubs like Brighton, we don't get. You know, we've never been in Europe, so you know the opportunity to actually do that is something that we'd love to do. I mean, let's face it, we're Brighton Hove Albion. We're practically French.
Well, it's a bit closer to Europe than we are, anyway.
Well, we're close. I
think you're closer. You're closer to France than you are to Liverpool.
Yeah.
So
we are.
Instead of making the trip up to Liverpool, why don't you just go on holiday?
I already live on the beach, mate.
To be fair, it's one of the best beaches about Brighton, so fair play to you.
Yeah, apart from the pebbles, you know, they hurt your feet. But anyway, back to the form. It's been quite worrying to a certain degree because we've been competitive. It's chalk and cheese as compared to where we were last year. Last year we went to Spurs, and it was a containment job. We didn't even get out of our own half. In fact, we just kicked it clear of the own half of the box sometimes and didn't even chase it. That was Houghton's tactic, and it was possibly the beginning of the end for him. Actually, it was absolutely abject performance up there, and with absolutely no ambition to try and win the game at all. So this time we went to Spurs on Boxing Day. We took the lead. We could have extended the lead, and we were very, very competitive. And it was a dodgy goal, and then a very good goal that saw us end up coming away with nothing. But we've been in that position a lot this season, where we've actually absolutely been dominant in games and ended up either drawing or losing, and that's a concern. But under Graham Potter, we can actually see progression. We're seeing it getting better and better as the season progresses. We're seeing players that weren't necessarily performing at the beginning of the season actually grow into their roles within his system. We're seeing players who were undroppable being dropped. We're seeing a lot more from us at the moment, and it's exciting. But at the end of the day, if you're going to compare it to last season, we were on pretty much exactly going into the turn of the year in exactly the same position, the same points tally. So it's and this time last year, our form completely fell off a cliff. So we are concerned, but we're also very, very positive.
Well, you said when we last met that you said Graham Potter was doing quite a good job, and your lowly position in the league didn't really do him justice. And you were 16th then, you're 14th now. Do you still reckon that your position undermines just how well Graham Potter's doing behind the scenes?
I think we know it's a transition. The football under Chris Hughton was not pretty to watch, but Chris's job was to keep us in the league, which he succeeded in. And there's still a lot of love for Chris Hughton here, and as a manager, he's still never ever been relegated. So, which is great for him, and and hopefully he'll get another job at some point soon. But with Graham, we're seeing progression. We're seeing the players be coached. We're seeing them become better. It's basically being as successful as we can this year, and then next year he's only actually had the one window so far. Obviously, we've got this one. Traditionally, we don't like to do a lot of business in January. Chairman Tony Bloom hates the January window. Prices are extortionate at this time of year, and because it's the January window, and quite frankly, quite a lot of people are desperate at this time. You see the prices going up, so it's very difficult to get value in January. So, but I think we might see one or two go out. But if we see one or two go out, we might need to replace them, particularly if Glenn Murray goes out as well, which has been rumoured. That he might go out to get some game time. I mean, probably going down to the Championship. I'd imagine we wouldn't let him go to a rival, as it were. But that said, we still don't want him to go either. He's a legend here.
He's definitely going back to Crystal Palace, isn't he?
He wouldn't dream of it. He knows he knows he made that mistake once before, and he will never do it again.
Does he know what side his bread's buttered now?
Yeah, well, he's got a massive house in Brighton. You should see the place. It's like you can see it from the moon.
So it's a little bit better than Croydon.
They tried to burn it down. They should have burnt more.
Oof. Well, any Palace fans want to tune in for this show? Let's we'll just gloss over that bit.
Snake Mountain, yeah.
Well, speaking of big rivalries, there's only one place that we're going to go to next. What did you make of Everton's FA Cup exit at the hands of Liverpool's reserves?
It was very Everton, wasn't it? It was, I watched the game. My missus is from your neck of the woods anyway, so she's actually on the red side of the border, unfortunately. But we were watching it, and I thought Everton were very good for the first 20 minutes, created a lot of chances. Adrian had to make some good saves, but to be honest, quite a lot of them were for the cameras. They're pretty routine. some better finishing, and you'd have been home and hosed by half time. But Liverpool, we're on a crest of the wave at the moment. The crowd are buoyant, and they rode it. And it was a bit of a wonder strike. And you'll disagree with this probably, but we all like to see a goal that goes in off the crossbar like that, but just not against you.
It was a really good goal. I'm not knocking that at all. I think they deserved it, by the way, 100%. The kids who went out there and really put in a decent performance.
I think that it was pretty much first choice Everton team. So Ancelotti would have seen that, and they'll see who he can trust and who he can't trust going forwards. Our concern is that there is going to be a backlash, and that he'll want to see those players prove a point and actually prove a point to the supporters that was just an aberration. And I think if you'd have put that team out against any other team, you probably would have won in this round. It's just the fact that you've got this mental block about going to Anfield at the moment, and I think that they could have put out their under 15s and it'd probably still be the same result. It's just this weird hoodoo thing that's going on.
I think that's a bit of an issue with the mentality of the very players we've got at the moment, who maybe let that sink into their psyche a bit too much. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure whether you've read into it. Obviously, you're looking ahead to the game against us. I'm not sure whether you've read into how the Everton fans have reacted to the Derby defeat on Sunday.
Yeah, I've seen that there's a bit of anger. I've heard some other people talking about it. I think that it's one game. I know it's your deadly rivals and everything. It's one game. It happens. It's the FA Cup. If it was, I think it would have been a lot worse if it was at Goodison, possibly. I don't think that you should be that overwrought about it. I mean, you've seen Ancelotti come in. You have seen some improvements. It's not going to happen overnight, and I think you just got to be patient with it. I mean, I think there will be some. Like I said, he'll know who he can trust now. He'll know which players are willing to run through a wall for him, and which players will be gently ushered towards the door. But like I said, Rome wasn't built in a day, and you've just got to be patient with it. And you've managed to get this marquee manager now, so you've got to trust him and basically let him build. Give him a budget where he can actually do something with it. Again, maybe not this month because of the value you get them. I mean, you'll probably see some go out to see some come in. But you've just got to be patient. Football supporters aren't that patient. We see it with our fans. We see it across the country and across the world probably. But at the end of the day, every manager is one game away from the sacking, and in some players and some managers and supporters' minds. And you just got to be realistic about it. Really, it was a bad day at the office. Move on.
I do understand that a lot of people seem to look at Everton fans as very impatient, but I actually think we're one of the most patient fan bases about. I think it's a little bit different. Put it this way, if your side now went to Selhurst and Palace's under-18s beat them, how would you feel?
Yeah, exactly the same. But I would look for the reasons. What happened? How did you play in the game? Did you get thrashed? Was it just one goal? Was it? I completely understand the anger and the frustration. I get it. I'm a football fan. We all spit vitriol when these sort of the events happen. But it's I've been to Palace and we've lost 5-0 and it's been horrible. I've been there where Will Sahar's gone over and dived and without a player being anywhere near him, got a penalty and they won the game. I've seen us go there and lose. I've seen us go there and win. But I've seen us with weakened teams. I've seen them with weakened teams. The team that drew against us was the walking wounded, and they had a few people, and we should have won that game comfortably. But they got a last minute equaliser from a guy that shouldn't have even been on the pitch. But
that's right. Yeah, I remember that game.
So I mean, it's frustrating. I know. I completely get it. I completely get where you're coming from with it, and I understand the anger and resentment towards that particular team. But you've got to support the player. You've got to. It's another day. You've got to get behind the team. Not if you start showing the team anger, they're going to start showing anger back. And it might not be in a positive way. They might just down tools. I mean, and on the other side of the coin, we were rubbish on Saturday against Sheffield United. We're absolutely terrible. It was, like I said, it was a strong team that we put out, and certainly wasn't a first choice team, but it was everyone in that team has played in the first team this year. And we started with our leading scorer. We started with Shane Duffy. We started with Adam Webster, who started most of the games this season. So it wasn't a weakened side really, and we should have won. So we want to see a
response as well,
bit more a response from us as well. So Graham Potter will have learned a lot about his players from Saturday. So I mean, both teams are going in there and wanting to prove a point. So it's going to be 0-0.
So. Just out of interest, though, obviously, I was trying to put a bit of your perspective on it with the whole travelling to Selhurst situation, but
yeah,
have Brighton won a game against Palace in the last decade?
Yes, we did the double over them last year, and we got a point up there. We should have. We had 80% of possession and like 42 million shots on target, and still came away with a draw against them this year. So, but yeah, we've gone over there for a while without getting anything at all. I mean, look, until we won there last year, the last victory there was about 10 years ago. So, but then we didn't actually play them every. So it's we don't like them, but we like them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, our fans are really fed up with the fact that we haven't won a derby for 10 years in any capacity at Goodison or Anfield, and I think that's boiled over a little bit. We thought this was our opportunity and we blew it in an embarrassing fashion, but also I think it owes to more than just playing against Liverpool. I think this is more a number of debacles in the past all rolled into one that's really reached like boiling point, if you know what I mean. I understand that like we've messed things up in some unbelievably bad ways. Obviously there was the Brighton game where we threw it away in the last minute, lost to an own goal. There've been plenty of incidents over the last 3 or 4 years that have really started to stack against this squad of players, and the fans have really had enough. I think if you aren't aware of the stories that came out today, where some of our fans have been to the training ground to vent their frustrations. A couple of players have been getting messages on social media. It's not what you want to see at all, but
no, it's not. It's not the way to do it. I mean, the way to do it is to actually get behind them. It's not. I understand it. I mean, that's it. It's going to the training ground to throw sheep at them is a very Italian thing to do. It's like, just because you've got an Italian manager, that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is actually to support them. The manager will know what the situation is. He'll understand the frustrations. He's only been there a couple of weeks. He's still working his way. He's still learning about the players. I mean, you've got Big Dunk there. He'll make sure that the players they'll be doing extra running this week. They'll be doing all the things they hate this week, and they'll be super extra fit come Saturday. But it's the bottom line is, yes, it was disappointing. Yes, it's Liverpool. Yes, it's your biggest rivals. Yeah, they had a scratch team out, but just move on, draw a line, next game, and try and get yourselves into a decent position, get yourself as far up the table as possible. You've only got the league to concentrate on now, and now that it's unlikely that you're going to go down. So you've just got to build now towards next season, and put out your youth team, give your kids a chance, because I've seen them. We've played against.
That was what I'm going to touch on actually, because a lot of the players who underperformed at Anfield, a lot of our fans don't want to see some of those play for Everton again, and a lot of them want this to be the breakthrough opportunity for some of our youngsters who, if you're not sure, they won the I think they pipped Brighton actually to the 23 title last year. So there are some talented players in the youth team who aren't really getting enough of a chance, and it'd be nice to see what they could do at the top level.
Well, I'm going back to Graham Potter again. I mean, that's one of the reasons there was a lot of people that were scratching their heads about the fact that, like, 6 months into his contract, we gave him an extension up to 6 years on the deal, and everyone was like, yeah, and even he himself said, I haven't actually done anything yet. But what we had seen was, in the short time he's actually been with us, he's created a pathway for our academy, and we've got ambitions to be competing in the top half of the table. The chairman hasn't got bottomless pockets, but he's invested a lot of money in the club. He's a supporter first and foremost. He's from Brighton. He's been a member of his family on the board forever. And Tony is very, very shrewd, and he knows for us to be successful, we've got top 10 ambitions, but we haven't got a top 10 budget. So we're going to have to rely on the manager bringing through players through from the academy. And in 6 months, not in that short space of time that he's been there, not only have we seen 2 players make the jump from the academy team to the first team and become regulars, they've actually both gone on to get full international caps as well. Which is massive. I mean, that is, I mean, the fact, and they're not for just like some 2-bit size as well. This is for Colombia and for the Republic of Ireland. So it's like that's massive. Even though Stigler's is actually the most London Colombian you've ever seen. He's from.
Is it Alzate? Is that?
Yeah, he's from Camden, but his parents are Colombian. So. But yeah, he's done terrifically well, although no one can quite work out what his position is yet. But it's but we're seeing the players be coached. We're seeing the players be given an opportunity to make that jump, and the players in the academy that are seeing that and seeing those players go play week in, week out in the first team, they say, right, that can be me. I can do that, and it's encouraging them to push on. And like I said, it is this season isn't the end game. This is just, it's a work in progress. And like I said, we are seeing the players become better. So and that's, you've now got the opportunity to do that. I'm not sure how good Carlo Ancelotti is at doing that. I don't know what his track record is in bringing through kids.
I think in the earlier days he was very good at it. With AC Milan, he was very good at it. In the later clubs, where I think a lot of the teams who took him on after AC Milan were desperate for instant success, the likes of Chelsea, the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, it's where it's not quite so easy. But if I remember rightly, in his days with like AC Milan and also the smaller Italian clubs he managed before that, he was quite good with bringing the kids through. And hopefully, if I'm not mistaken, he's spoken to our director of football about trying to, in a similar way to Graham Potter, maybe beat more of a path for the youngsters to break into the first team.
You've got to. I mean, the way that football's going, it's going. This bottomless pit of money that seems to be constantly thrown at football isn't going to be there forever. And we're at the bottom level. It's going to break at some point, and you're going to have to. You need clubs are actually going to have to start bringing through their own players again, and actually start looking at players in this country again. And it's like the way it used to, and that's the way that football used to operate. It's like you used to, the clubs at the top level would bring players through from the second, third, and fourth divisions. The money would then be reinvested within the second, third, and fourth divisions, and they weren't like putting themselves in impossible positions. Look at Bury, look at Bolton, look at Blackpool, look at Macclesfield, look at those clubs. I mean, they used to rely on money coming in from transfers and things, and they're just not getting that anymore.
Well, I think that's a good point you made because I mean, obviously Southend are struggling a lot right now, and I think the sale of Stan Collymore to Forest in the '90s saved them. I think from bankruptcy. I think that's just one of many examples where a transfer fee to a top flight club has saved the lower league team.
That's Mark Beanie going to Leeds. So that one transfer practically saved the club. You know, when we nearly went out of business. You know, that was one thing that staved off a court order, that money. So you know, it's you know, these things matter. It's
absolutely,
and there is a lot of talent there. There's a lot of talent down there, and but no one's prepared to look at it. And because they're young British players, their transfer market value skyrockets, even though there might not be that. So the value isn't necessarily there, and that's something that's actually probably going to change. But I'm probably just like,
and hopefully it does. Though I think English football will be a better place if those kind of changes do happen in the years to come.
Something needs to give, and it's like you know, we're looking at a football club is more than just like 11 blokes kicking a bag of air around a bit of glass every weekend. It's more important that you've got it's what it means to the community, and particularly in places like where the football club is part of the community. It's not just it's what they do with the charities, what they do with their outreach programs. So there's a lot more than just the game itself, and it's and football has a responsibility to those communities and the communities have responsibilities to the football club. It's a two-way street, and the Albion, the community scheme we've got here is award-winning, and it's absolutely fantastic, the stuff that we do. I mean, I could tell you stories that were just mind-blowing of the stuff that we've actually done, and it's like it's so important. You know, there's the buzz around the town on a match day and stuff. It's was wonderful, and it's like I said, it's not just about the game itself; it's about the community as a whole.
More. I think that's one of the things. I think I was saying like why the Everton fans are quite disillusioned with these players is that they don't grasp that spirit of the club. And I think that's why they want to see kids, maybe the kids who would understand more and care more. Really, I think that's the thing. The real undercurrent of all this fury at Everton is that we don't think the players we have now care.
There's no guarantee that they will, because even the kids in the academy aren't necessarily local these days. I mean, we've got exactly the same. We've got a multinational bunch of kids there. But it's you know, but there are still a few local lads there who are itching to get given the opportunity.
Yeah, I do think you guys are going about it in a good way, though. I think those two youngsters you mentioned, Alzate and Connolly, have both come in and they've both been quite impressive every time I've watched them so far this season. But I'm going to reserve my praise for one player that I've watched of yours all season and I think is fantastic, and that's Adam Moy.
Oh, right, okay.
You seem a bit. It seemed like it took you by surprise with that one.
Not really, because he's been a bit of a slow burner, and it's taken him a while to settle. His performances in the first month or so of the season were kind of like bit parts, really, but he's starting to. Graham Potter's starting to basically he's slowly integrated him within the team, and he's becoming a lot better suited to the role that he's actually got now. And like I said earlier, we're seeing established players not making it into the team now, which were previously seen as undroppable. People like Dale Stevens, Shane Duffy, those sort of guys who have been massively important to us over the last 4 or 5 years. In Dale's case, a bit longer than that. So, but yeah, Aaron's he's wonderful. He's someone came out with a very interesting phrase about him the other day, that he's so good he could find space in a single bed with Gemma Collins, but but we're not going there. But yeah, he's got his first goal now as well, which was a wonderful goal, well taken, which was a lot to do with Leandro Trossard as well. But as good as Aaron's been, we are pretty much a sum of our parts. This season hasn't really been too many standout players because it's been very much a team effort, and that's what you want to see. You want to see everyone contributing to the cause. So, Aaron's had a couple of breathtaking performances in a few games, and he's also gone missing in a few games. But when in those games where he's gone missing, other players have come to the fore, and we're actually starting to see. For me, we're actually starting to see the Davy Pröper that plays for Holland play for Brighton finally, and he's the one that's come the end of the season will probably be the standout player in that midfield, I would say.
That's an interesting take on it, because obviously through a neutral watching on, and when I've watched Brighton, it's always been Moy who's caught my eye.
Because he looks different. Because he's good. I mean, if I take my glasses off, you might think I'm him. But it's like if I just I'll do that and start speaking in an Australian accent, and I'll be there. But
you never know. Have you ever played on the Amex?
I've never have.
Do all those things, and you've fulfilled a lifetime dream. Possibly if you can sneak into the dressing room.
Yeah, my life as an Aaron Moy lookalike. Yeah, great, thanks. Makes a change from Harry Hill, I suppose.
To be fair, we've had the Jamie Vardy lookalike on this show for the Leicester one, so it wouldn't be the first time we've had a lookalike on here. So
I know the guy you mean as well.
Yeah, he's a great guy as well. But we had him on earlier in the season as well, so he wouldn't be the first lookalike we've had. Anyway, we're going to move on now to the game on Saturday. There's not been much to separate both sides in the league so far. If you could add one Everton player to your current team, who would it be?
Probably Luca Dean, I would say.
Better than Dan Burn.
Well, he's not a left back. In fact,
I'll be honest with you, mate. He's doing a better job of it than Luca Dean has been this season.
Dan's actually going to be out for like 6 weeks now, anyway. So which is a shame for him, because he was a player that was here last season. Only got to play in the cups, and he went out. He was signed last summer, and he went out on loan back to Wigan until he got fit again. And he came back in January, played in the FA Cup, but Chris Hughton clearly didn't fancy him. But he is actually a centre back, so he's not actually a left back. So He's been playing. I mean, he's kind of found himself in that role, because we've been playing this three at the back system, where he's been playing wide left on that, but because he's one of these natural marauding kind of players, he's kind of been seen as a left back, but we haven't really been playing with any like width, or they've been wing backs anyway. So
is that kind of why you suggest? Is that kind of why you suggested Luca Dean?
Yeah, kind of. I think that's one area where we are lacking at the moment. I think we could certainly do with a lot more width out there. I mean, we've had Solly March has been injured most of the season, and when he has played, he's kind of been not quite up to speed with what is expected of him, and he's one of these really frustrating players, Solly, because on his day it's absolutely unplayable and wonderful to watch, but his day's happening far and far less often at the moment. And I mean, he's coming back to fitness, so we're hoping to see the real Solly March turn up soon. But he's been played as a left wing back this season. But we've now got Bernardo back in that position, and that's, I think most Brighton fans have been kind of wanting to see the Brazilian Bernie come in there and give it and cement that place, because he is exciting, and he is that kind of player that you actually want in that position, really, because he's more
suited to it.
Yeah, basically. But
I think
don't get me wrong, we do love Dan Burn, and like we're still actually spitting feathers about the goal he had disallowed by VAR, but that's another story.
Time for the VAR debate. No, we'll leave the VAR debate. We've already spoken enough about VAR in enough of these shows. So what I will say is,
which Brighton player would you take?
Well, I was going to ask you, fancy doing a swapsy for Luca Dean, but I'd take Bernardo, and we've already got a Bernard on the left. So imagine having Bernard and Bernardo on the same wing.
They're both Brazilian as well. So.
Exactly. You're saying there's a Brazilian Bernie. We'd have two Brazilian Bernies on the same flank.
Bernie in.
Yeah, Bernie in. Oh, you'll be making me hungry if you carry on with that.
You go to the Wimpy round the corner. But...
So yeah, what sort of lineup can we expect, or what's the sort of? I know we guys sort of use the hybrid 3 at the back, sometimes 4 at the back. So what sort of formation?
I honestly don't. That's just the one thing that we've actually learned this season is you can't second guess Graham Potter's side. Yeah, we don't quite know what he's going to do. It's I suspect it'll be. I mean, it was a decent side we put out on Saturday, but I suspect we'll see Aaron Moy, Davy Perker back in the middle. I think Leandro Trossard will probably come back in as well. He's a player who's very, very exciting. We're looking forward to seeing a lot more from him. When he first came into the team, he was brilliant, but he's kind of regressed a little bit. So we're hoping to see a little bit more from him. But he's still got more assists than anyone else. So
he does seem like a good player.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, the Belgians are seeing him as the heir apparent to Eden Hazard, but he has the potential to be that good, but I'm not quite sure what his position is at the moment because he's kind of been playing left and he's also been playing as a number 10. So we seem to have a lot.
Well, many teams done that with Hazard, though, haven't they? So maybe he is the heir apparent.
Yeah, maybe, but so I suspect Neil Maupay will play. I suspect we might even see Connolly play as well. So I mean, I've got no idea, to be honest.
I think, like you say, you're one of. I will give you that. Brighton are one of the hardest first 11s to pick. I think, like you say, many are.
You might see, which most Brighton fans would have probably not predicted a few weeks ago, but we finally seen Ali Reza Jahanbash turn up. It's taken him a while, but he is fine. I mean, he became, when we signed him, he was the most expensive signing. He became the hated figure, as it were. You know, every club's got one, which is they don't see the point of why we signed him. What's he doing in the team? What, you know, the player that all the vitriol's fired towards. But he got a start against Bournemouth, which had a few people raising their eyebrows, but he scored after 3 minutes and was absolutely brilliant in that game. And I don't know if you've seen his goal celebration after that goal, but how much it meant to him, how much that weight was lifted off him, getting that monkey off his back. It was, you know, he actually broke down in tears and sank to his knees with sheer emotion, because it's, you know, it's been a long time coming. He came with that price tag and he felt it, and he didn't necessarily hit the ground running. And last season, he kind of, I'm not going to say it was a waste of space. I would support any player who pulls on that black Brighton shirt to the end. But he came with a big reputation from Holland. Chris Hughton didn't know how to use him, is the long and short of it. He came when in Holland, he didn't have any defensive responsibilities. Under Chris Hughton, he had a lot of defensive responsibilities and wasn't able to do what made him the player he was at the top end of the pitch. But now Chris is actually, yes, you still got to do some defending. It's what I expect every player on the pitch to do that. But Graham's basically said, go and do what you can do. And all of a sudden, we're seeing this player all of a sudden that we thought we'd signed. Actually, so this second half of the season could be absolutely massive for Ali. And I don't know if he's certainly got a nomination for goal of the season coming the end of the year.
Yeah, for Chelsea game, that was a really good goal.
Yeah. Well, he nearly did it again against Sheffield United. Sheffield Wednesday, sorry. He nearly did it again on Saturday. Identical position, and he just went over this time. But it was he's certainly got that in his locker. So yeah, we might see him come in on Saturday. So what he does.
Don't let any crosses into the box behind Ali Jahanbash then.
Yeah, well, he's he wants to ride his bicycle.
So, score prediction.
That's terrible. It's terrible. We're going to lose 2-0. But other than that,
Are you really?
I don't know. It's like I said, I want to see a reaction from my players after Saturday. You want to see a reaction from your players. You're at home. We had this conversation last year, actually, and I was kind of probably a lot more confident than I am this year. And we lost 3-1. So kind of, I would take a draw now. I think we have been decent on the road. We have been dominating possession. I think if the crowd is dead against you, then I think that will work in our favour. And we've got in Neil Maupay, we've got a player who really likes to wind up the opposition supporters. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Well, I think that's the thing. I think you say we're both looking for a reaction. I think when Everton fans look for a reaction, we hardly ever get it. I'm going to go with a 0-0. I just don't think. I think, like you say, it's going to be one of them dour games. I think it's going to be more about I think the whole narrative of the game is going to revolve around how Everton fans perceive the team's performance and whether they think it's good enough. And unfortunately, I'm not confident. Well, again, it all depends on our team selection.
Yeah, well, again, I think you just got to be patient with the manager. He's only just got there, you know.
The manager's got everybody 100% backing, but it's the players. The manager's going to be back to the hilt by the fans.
I get it.
That's what we're hoping, that it's going to be a lot of singing songs about Ancelotti, really, and not much else. And if we can let Ancelotti, maybe the optimism surrounding Ancelotti can rise above the pessimism towards the players. And that's, if we do that, then I think we will win. But it's hard to see what's going to happen. So many fans are conflicted. No one knows exactly what's going to happen when we walk out at 3:00 on Saturday.
Yeah. One thing we do know that Graham Potter's got a plan A, B, C, and D, and possibly E if he needs it. So, we've been competitive in every game we've played in this year, and there's been a couple of games which have been aberrations. The Sheffield United home game, the Sheffield Wednesday home game weren't so great away at Chelsea, weren't so great away at Man United, but we stayed in the game for long periods, and we've given a good account of ourselves. So even when we lost 4-0 at Man City, we actually could have got something out of that game, but we just didn't take a chances when we had them. But then, as you know, with Man City, they can go off and rack up a massive scoreline quite easily.
Definitely, yeah. Now, we always end with a light-hearted question. We already asked you earlier in the season what your favourite film was. You said it was The Crow.
It was, yeah.
And it still is.
It is, yeah.
So this time we're going to ask you, pineapple on a pizza, yes or no?
Yes. Definitely. Yes. Pineapple pineapple and black pepper. That's what you need.
Now we're talking. You know how to eat.
It's I cook with pineapple all the time, so it's really good on a barbecue because it's naturally sweet. So it's like if you just put it on flat, cut a wedge of it flat on the barbecue, get those flames licking it. It's quite a wonderful little treat there.
That sounds like one hell of a treat. And if you don't mind, next time you're having a barbecue, invite me.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. Anytime.
Okay, maybe the Euros when Neil Maupay's playing for England and Jordan Pickford probably isn't.
Well, I've just seen that Neil Maupay might be going to Napoli today, but I mean that's a load of rubbish. But never mind.
Yeah, the Italian media is very eccentric. You only have to watch one of my shows to find that out. It's a very there's plenty going on.
But no, that's not going to happen. I don't think anyone like that's going to be leaving this window.
No, not this season at all. Like you say, I don't think much goes on in January, and certainly wouldn't be selling a key player.
Well, we're still waiting to see if Lewis Dunk's going to get into that Euro squad at the moment. So we live in hope. Bit of a Michael Keane.
Oh, much better than Michael Keane. I don't think Everton and Brighton fans are very much united in that respect. In fact, I think we're very united in many things, to be honest with you. I think we can all agree Brighton's got a very nice beach, bar the Pebbles.
Yeah, good beach bars, that's for sure.
Yeah. You're closer to France. We've learned a lot on this show, haven't we?
Yeah. We're Brighton of Albion. We're practically French. That's how we end.
And we've also, what else have we learned here? It's going to be a 0-0 draw this weekend. I'll tell you what, we've really whetted everyone's appetite for this game, haven't we?
It's going to end up 5-4, and it's going to be a last-minute VAR, isn't it? It's going to be another VAR.
Oh, it's going to be another debacle, isn't it? Or a debacle.
Somebody's go now is going to be slightly bigger than someone else's, and they'll basically be like comparing in the shower afterwards. It's going to be ridiculous.
The guy who shaves his armpit's going to get away with it.
You can't score with your armpit. It's handball. It's just ridiculous. But it's like when Dan Burn was his
Dan Burn fumes back.
Oh God, yeah, but it's just right. The guy's 7'7" when he's lying down. Right, he lives in the land of the giants, and when they're doing their VAR stuff, they're not taking this. No wonder Peter Crouch retired with his size 18 feet. He'd be offside every game. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, obviously we've got to stick with it until the end of the season, but just because they can't get rid of it midway through the season.
There's a good way to end this show. VAR, keep or scrap.
We've got to keep it for now, and then scrap it.
End of the season.
Well, I've said it before, and I say again: the VAR isn't the problem; it's the laws of the game that are the problem. Basically, the offside rule, for instance, that was there to stop goal hanging, right? So, but if someone's having their left nostril ever so slightly further ahead than someone, is that goal hanging? Unless you're Zlatan, it's not, is it? It's just an absolute farce. And basically, this whole thing about clear and obvious, that's gone out the window, isn't it? It's just an absolute farce. It's like,
well, it's a clear and obvious farce, the VAR. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, they don't know how they're still not sure how they're using it. Basically, they've got level is onside, and it's like, even if they're not taking, then even down to the size of someone's feet could be the difference between being onside or not. And they're not getting that. Are you getting a clear advantage? No. And some of the penalty, nobody knows what a penalty is. The linesmen don't know whether to put their flags up or not. It's just an absolute joke.
It's a joke, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
They just need to know. Just sit down and say, right, this make it black and white. Like we know with the goal line technology, it's black and white, but it's just some full kit sitting in an airport lounge. Like I'm not even sure they're watching the game. We've all seen the meme of what they're actually watching, right? So it's
yeah.
It's just it's frustrating, and it's because it's quite often an objective decision. It's like the lines don't mean anything, because they can't. We were talking when people are talking about frame rate and this. It's just that isn't.
Oh my God!
It's just basically it should be the same as it is on Hackney Marsh as it is in the Premier League, and just do away with it. But I mean, there was that stat that came out last week, wasn't there? That last season the linesman got 94% of the decisions right. That's all you need to know.
That's not bad, really, is it?
No. But on that note,
so yeah, that's literally we're gonna end with VAR as a farce. I think that's something we can all agree on. But that's all we've got time for today. It's plenty to look ahead to, none more so than the game on Saturday at 3:00, where Everton are going to take on Brighton in an obvious 0-0 draw. So be sure to check out all our great content in the build up to that and beyond. And if you're a Brighton mate,
yes or no?
What?
VAR on a pizza, yes or no?
VAR on a pizza. So if you want to find out more about VAR on a pizza and you're a Brighton native, definitely tune in to Radio Reverb at midday on a Saturday and hear more of AD's banter alongside his mate Al. And as always, guys, give this video a like and a comment. Give us a subscribe while you're at it. And give Albion Raw a follow on Twitter. You'll see the Twitter handles below AD on the screen now anyway. And all that's left to say is thanks, AD, again for joining me on the show. And telling me how to barbecue pineapples. And yeah, thank you guys for watching on the Toffee Blues.